Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it so very much. Welcome, my name is Aiden. I'm so happy that you are here. We have another palette roundup. These are all of the palettes that I wore over the course of a month. I'm a little behind because as I'm filming this, my palettes from middle of November to middle of December are going up, and it's the end of January. Just because of time sensitive things, you know, SAS hauls, they kind of took over if you watch any of my Bath & Body Works content. And then I had a couple unboxings like my lucky bag and stuff. So I'm a little behind. These are all of the palettes that I wore from like the middle of December into the middle of January. So I have my holiday palettes, the ones I wore over the holidays. I have some work palettes because school has started. We've already had a couple weeks of school at this point, which is crazy. I can't believe we're almost at the end of January already. Anyway, let me show you all of the palettes that I'm going to talk about. I have the Nabla Dreamy 2 palette. I have two from Lorac. I have the Unfiltered and the Elegance. These are both 5 pan palettes. I also have the Faced Gingerbread Spice. This is the original one. This is what started me off on like the holiday spirit. I was like, you know what? We're going to revisit this one. Still kind of smells like gingerbread too. Then we have probably one of my all-time favorite palettes. I'm spoilers already. This is the Huda Mauve Obsessions. Love this palette. Then I have Windflower by Voss. Had to throw a Colourpop palette in there. This is a brand new one that I just got. This is Colourpop Roaring Hearts. You should have seen the haul by the time this video is going up though. Then I have Kat Von D, and yes, I'm calling it Kat Von D because this is Kat Von D before everything went down. So this is the Metal Matte Mini palette. So I have that one, and then I have one more Violet Voss. This is the Essentials 2 palette. So all of these palettes I wore for 4 days each, with the exception of my 2 Lorac palettes, and these I wore for 2 days each. So I counted them I was thinking of them as one in what I used to do as a 4 for 4. So I have, you know, worn as many of the shades in these palettes as possible, really gotten my idea of them. There are some that I will be decluttering, and some that I will be keeping, and some that I have rediscovered my love for. Before I show you all of the swatches, don't forget to like this video if you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Also, please leave a comment. Let me know if you've tried any of these palettes, what your thoughts are on them. Let me know how you would rank them if you've tried them. Let me know which palettes you have. Also, let me know where you think I'm going to rank them, because I'm going to ask you that at the end, where you think I'm going to rank them. Let's get started. So the Essentials 2 palette is from Violet Voss. This was originally a palette in the BoxyCharm box, and they did Essentials. They did an Essentials palette, and then they did Essentials 2. And I almost resubscribed to BoxyCharm just to get this palette because I really love Violet Voss's formulas. I have several of her palettes, and I think there's some really beautiful shades in there. And I liked this one because it had those purples in there. Those really spoke to me. And then I also liked the blue. I don't know if you can tell, but this one it's not too terribly old, but it also seems to be, let's see if I can get a little bit more light on it. Some of the shimmers seem to be degrading and more flaky than they should be. And so that's a little concerning. I was a little disappointed that this one seems to be breaking down. I am so grateful because my cousin did send me this palette. She had gotten it and she was like, oh, I'm not going to use it. And I had posted about how I was thinking about getting Boxy just for this. And so she sent it to me. So I'm very, very grateful to that. So if Missy, if you're watching, thank you so much. But this is what it looks like. So there are 10 colors. You have some nice neutrals, and then you have those pops of color down on the bottom. As you can see, like some of these swatch really, really beautifully. Some of them, like this one, you can't even really tell that it's there. It's kind of there. It just looks like I smudged myself a little bit. They're okay. I don't think that this is the best of Violet Voss's formula. I think she has better palettes that she has made. I feel like they've gotten a little too commercial. Went down kind of the route of ABH, where there was just palette after palette after palette, and it wasn't so much about the quality or the color story. It was more about the profit or putting out something new. So I don't love this palette. I am going to declutter this palette. I'm going to tell you that. I don't think this is worth it. If you got it in BoxyCharm, I think, you know, basically $5 per product. Back when it was, it's like $30 now. So I don't think it was bad. but I don't think it is the same quality as the other Violet Voss palettes, which is very disappointing. So yes, I will not be keeping this one. We're gonna see where it ranks here at the end, but it's okay. There's some nice things in it, but also just some not great ones. I want to talk about the Lorac palettes next. So we have Unfiltered. This one is kind of the most basic of all of the shades. So you have 5 shades in each of these. Like I said, they did come with a brush, but I did declutter the brushes and pass those along back when I first got these. I got these at Ulta for 50% off, I'm pretty sure. I was waiting for a sale, and that's when I ended up getting this. This is kind of an interesting palette. Looking at this palette, I think, oh, just is a really nice palette. Like, you have a dark, you have a light, you have, you know, something you could do as a brow bone, you have a couple shimmers. So this should be like a very staple everyday palette. Well, this palette, this straight up, oh my gosh, I can't even with it. Let me try to scrape off some of this hard pan. It's just crumbling. Ugh. Can you see? But this is how I swatched it just a minute ago, and you can't even see that. Let me try to. So there it is. It shows up a little bit better. That's what I just scraped off, and it's just, I don't know if you could see, it's just basically crumbling. Like, even trying to just scrape off the top layer was not doing anything for it. This was such a disappointing palette because that pink that I was so excited for is not a great shimmer. It's not the same quality as the other shimmers from Lorac, and these are unzipped palettes, and that is a different formula than their Pro formula, and I don't like the Pro formula, but I've had really good luck with the unzipped palettes in the past. They're actually going to be coming up. So, like, this one is really pretty. This one is a grid shade. Your mattes do pretty well. Like, they have pigment to them, and then this one is an okay shimmer. But for the most part, this palette was disappointing. So it is another one that I'm going to declutter. I don't think it's the same quality as the other unzipped. I don't think it's the same quality as the other 5 pan palettes that they put out as well. So definitely Unfiltered is not one I would recommend either. Okay, we're gonna switch it up and get something that's a little less disappointing than these last two. So next up is the Faced Gingerbread Spice palette. This was actually the first palette for this go round. These are kind of just in the order that I had them sitting on the desk next to me, not necessarily the order that I wore them in. But this palette, I thought, you know what, I'm going to grab this one out. I actually had worn my Huda Rose Gold one day, and then I was like, I think I've already reviewed this. And then I had to refigure out my storage because it had been a few months since I had put things away and I had gotten things confused. So this one I hadn't looked at. I've done Gingerbread Spice 2 and like pumpkin spice and stuff, but this is the OG. This one is so good. Look at the shades in here. I love the color story in here. It's very warm. I love these tones. There's some pretty colors in here. You got a couple purples. I love this palette. Here's what they all look like. Swatch. The only one that I've had any issues with is this one. This is a shimmer. This is, what is this? Spiced rum, and it's very chunky. It did not want to play well putting it on the eyes or putting it on. It worked slightly better on the eyes than when I was swatching it, but it is like crumbling a little bit. I think it's because, one, the formula, but this is an older palette, obviously, but everything else is working really well. I look at these swatches and I was like, they're so pretty. They've done like such a good job. There are colors in here that I will wear all the time. I can wear this to work. I can do something more dramatic that looks more fun. I just think this is such a solid palette, and I hope that Too Faced does some more of this. I know they did their palette this year, which just did nothing for me, honestly. There was the cardboard packaging instead of this tin packaging, and I like this tin packaging much more. So I didn't even buy a lot from Too Faced this past year, and I don't know, like, there's some things that I want from Too Faced, but it seems like everything from Too Faced is going at least 50% off nowadays. So I'm just gonna wait till they go on sale. But this one, I'm really glad that I picked up. I'm glad that I got it, and then they even brought it back because it was such a good palette. And yeah, I think this is one of the best Too Faced palettes that they have done. Highly recommend it. If you can find it, I think it's a good one to have in your collection if you like the colors. it's so nice. I really like it. I like the mattes. I like the shimmers, except for that one. This one is not my favorite shimmer either, but it's okay. But I love like these shimmers here. Oh, so pretty. They did such a nice job. Next up is another from Lorac. This is the other unzipped. This is the Elegance palette, and this is once again a 5-pan. As you can see, the shades in here are very different. They're more cool toned. They're more like, I would say elegant. Like they look like more evening type shades, and they're slightly different in the formulas. These two shimmers that you see are definite unzipped shimmer shades. They are not like that other one that was kind of, I don't know what formula that was, but that was not the formula that I'm used to from Lorac. These are the true shimmer shades, and this is what the 5 shades look like. So you have, you know, more of a brow bone up here. You have these 2 beautiful shimmers, and then you have these 2 beautiful mattes. I love this palette. I think this is such good quality. I love the color story. Like that, I don't usually go for cool tones, but this is such a cool tone palette that I really felt drawn to, and both of the looks that I did with it, I just felt really pretty. I felt like they were slightly different enough, and they felt festive. I wore this one on Christmas Day, and I was just like, this is such a beautiful Christmas Day palette. It just felt really special. It felt like the shimmer, like this shimmer is my favorite. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. It just, look at how it just shimmers and shines. I love this palette. This is one that I would highly recommend as well. If you can find it, I think it is a fantastic one. Yes, this is one that I would look for. Next palette is the Violet Voss Windflower palette. I always want to call this Wildflower. I don't know why Windflower. There's something else. Creed has a fragrance called Windflower, and I'm like, well, I didn't realize this. This must be something new. Or maybe I'm just completely unaware. That could be as well. So this is one of their 10-pan mini palettes. These aren't too expensive. I think they're like $25 or so. And they have some pretty shades in them. I really liked this one. The colors really spoke to me, obviously, because they're very warm toned, very pinky. You have a couple that are more orangey, but there are some very pretty shades in here. This is what they all look like swatched. So you have like, you know, your very, very light shade, but then there's some very beautiful shimmer shades in here too. I really like this shimmer shade is so beautiful. I also really like this one. This is one that I am on the fence about whether I want to declutter or not. I feel like there's some beautiful shades and I liked the looks, but it felt kind of like I get with the Naked palettes where everything looks very much the same and there's not a lot of variety in the looks that I can create. So this is the only palette I had marked. I kind of like it, but I also feel like I don't love it. But I kind of want to keep it, but I kind of want to declutter it. So we'll see how I feel at the end. I'll let you know if I'm going to declutter it or not. But I mean, look at how pretty those shimmer shades are. This is the quality of Violet Voss that I'm used to. This one is, I would say, a better quality than Windflower or than the Essentials palette. But it's still, I don't know if it's the same quality as their big palettes that they used to do. I absolutely love some of those big palettes. Like the Flamingo is one of my all-time favorite palettes. We are on to our next palette. So we have the Kat Von D or KVD Metal Matte palette, and it's supposed to look metal one way and matte the other. I don't know if you can tell on camera or not. This is the mini palette. I didn't get the big one. I was not ever like a huge Kat Von D fan. I didn't have like a lot. Her palettes were very expensive for a long time, and they sold out so quickly. Plus, the color stories didn't always speak to me. This one spoke to me more because it felt like a more cohesive palette, something I would more easily be able to wear. So as you can see, there are 5 shimmers and there are 5 mattes, and they do correspond to each other. They're not like, I don't know if these are the best shades that I could have gotten. I can see like how they're connected, but there's a couple of them that don't, like this middle one doesn't feel like very connected. Anyway, this is what they all look like swatched. As you can see, there's a lot of really light shades that don't show up on me, and I'm pretty pale. So we have the white shimmer here. The shimmers are pretty. I do enjoy the shimmers. I think that her shimmer formula was really good. And then we have all of these mattes, and you can barely see some of these mattes, and then you have like the 2 darker ones, which kind of, they look pretty similar actually when I'm looking at them on camera. So there's a slight difference this way, but they don't look too different on cameras. Anyway, this is one that I wore to work. Like this was, no, I didn't wear this to work. I wore this while I was traveling. It didn't last super long, and I know this is an older palette. Yes, I am trying to go through my collection, and the reason I'm doing these is so that I actually get use out of all of my palettes and kind of curate my collection, see if my friends want some of these, because they're not bad palettes and they haven't gone, like if any of them were bad, I would obviously throw them out and I wouldn't use them on my eyes and I wouldn't give them away. But I feel like other people could get use out of some of these, and I really need to curate and think about my collection, because I have too many palettes. I have a tendency to overbuy, like that's me. Retail therapy is definitely something that I rely on, and I started doing YouTube, and what were the videos that I actually got views on? Hauls. So if you're watching this, I really appreciate you watching this video, and I hope I'm inspiring you to go through your collection and use some of your stuff too. Anyway, I didn't love this palette. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with it. I just feel like it's not the best that they did, and I think that's partly why it didn't sell as well as some of her other palettes as well. But I think it's nice. I like the shimmers the best. The mattes are just kind of blush me, but the shimmers don't last quite as long as I want them to. I want, you know, a good 12 hours on my shimmers, and these just, they kind of faded away. They didn't crease, so that's nice, but they weren't my favorite. So yes, I will be decluttering the Metal Matte Mini palette from KVD. We're at my favorite palette, and that is the Huda Beauty Mauve Obsessions. It's not my favorite palette. It's just one of my favorite palettes. This palette, it's gotten a lot of wear. I just actually tried to clean it up because it had stuff all over it, fallout all over. It's been loved. I don't know if you could tell how much it's been used. Like, this is one that I've dipped into a lot over the years, and this is what the 9 colors look like. Yes, there is a very, you know what? I totally swatched over the one shade. I didn't even realize I did it. So let me do that, and then let me do that. Those are the actual shades. This one is mixed. No wonder it swatched really weird, and I was like, what's going on with that? It's because I'm stupid. So this is what it looks like. I love this palette. I've gotten compliments on it. The other day I posted a video when I was wearing it, and my friend Shannon said that she needed an eye tutorial, and I am not that good. Like, I just do I do something in my brow, and then I do something in my crease, something on my brow, and then usually like 2 to 3 shades on my crease, not my crease, my lid. See, I don't even know what I'm talking about, and I use whatever brush is handy. But I used this palette. I think this is a beautiful palette. This is the best of all of the Obsessions palettes, in my opinion. This is my favorite. I love the coral too. That's another one that I really love. But this one, those shades, they're right up my alley. Like, they're just perfect shades for me. I love the shimmers in here. You have 3 shimmers. They are different enough, and they're all right in a row. They're different enough so you can get different looks, and it's just, you got a little bit of everything. You got a couple medium shades, you have a couple dark shades. So I feel like I get a lot of different looks from this, and they're different enough that no 2 looks are exactly the same, but they're also cohesive enough that everything works. So very well thought out. I love this palette. Chef's kiss. Next up, we have the Nabla Dreamy palette, or Dreamy 2 palette by Nabla. There we go. This palette I was so looking forward to. I have so many Nabla palettes that I absolutely love. I think they have some beautiful shades, they have some beautiful formulas, and they work so well. Like, there's so many beautiful shades that just, they work like a dream. So this is what the palette looks like. There are some beautiful colors. Like, you know, you have this beautiful purple here. You have, like, this is more of a cream to powder, like Natasha Denona does. Just some really nice shades in there. Mostly shimmers. You have 3 mattes in here, so it's mostly a shimmer palette. This is what they all look like swatched. So they look beautiful swatched. Like, this purple and that red, those 2 that I just showed you, absolutely love them. This gold is like crazy. Like it's so much comes off, and it's like it has such an impact to it. Some really nice shades, right? I struggled to get this to perform well. I struggled to get everything to lay right, to blend, and I don't know why. This doesn't feel quite the same quality as the other Nabla palettes that I've tried in the past. So it was very disappointing, and swatching it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Why did I put this in my declutter? Like, this was one that I wrote down that I wanted to declutter because I just struggled with it. And looking at it, it looks so beautiful, and I would like to keep it. I know this shade does work well, but they were very difficult to work with. They took extra time, and I don't feel like any of the looks that I created with it were very pretty. Like, I didn't feel like, oh wow, I really love this look, and this is something that I would want to recreate. I didn't feel that with this one. So for that reason, even though the swatch is so good, like based on these swatches, I just want to keep it. But I know in my mind goes, you need to get rid of it. So this one will be being decluttered. I'm very sad about it though. Last palette, I know it's taken a while. So we have the Colourpop Roaring Hearts palette. This came out, oh, I have no idea when this came out, but I found this one at TJ Maxx or Marshall's for like $8.99, and I was like, you know what? It looks pretty. It was unopened. I was so excited about that. So I decided to pick it up. It is a 10 pan palette, and it has 4 shimmers in it. This is what these shades all look like. I went a little wonky on that one. I didn't double swatch it. I don't know, somehow got weird on that one. I really enjoyed this palette. Did I need the black in here? No. I could have done without the black, but everything else I really enjoyed. Like, I felt like the looks I wore in this, they were pretty. They felt, I felt pretty in them. And then I also, like, the colors were work appropriate, which was really helpful. Like, this was a great everyday work palette for me. These are definitely shades that I could wear. There were several different looks that I could do. I didn't love this shade quite as much. It was a little more warm toned than I thought it was going to be. I don't know if you can see that. It looks a little warmer on skin than it does in the pan, but I thought this was a really solid palette. And if you see this at your TJ Maxx or Marshalls, I would say pick it up. It's a decent palette, and they did a good job on it. Now has come the time to write down your predictions where you think I'm going to rank all of these palettes. Let me know what you think is going to be number 1. Let me know what you think is going to be in last place. Let me know if you have any of these palettes, and let's get into the ranking. You already kind of know what I'm decluttering. In 9th place or last place is going to be the Lorac Unfiltered. This is just not a great palette. That pink just really destroyed it for me. So yes, it is being decluttered, but it is also in last place. In 8th place, I'm going to put the Kat Von D Metal Matte palette. I was expecting more from this, and it was, you know, it faded away during the day, so it wasn't my favorite. And I feel like the other ones are slightly better quality, so it is in 8th place, which means in 7th place, I can't believe I'm putting a Nabla this low. This is the Dreamy 2 palette, and this is based on how I felt about wearing them, but not the swatches I just did, because the swatches on this seemed really, really nice, and I would revisit this palette right now based on those swatches. So maybe I might revisit it one more time, kind of try out a couple of those shades. But yeah, it's not the best, and it's not the best Nabla palette. It is not one that I would recommend. They have some other ones that are much better quality, like the Poison Garden palette and the Secret palette. I love the Secret palette. That's one of my favorite palettes. Then we have Violet Voss Essentials 2. There's nothing inherently wrong with this. It's not as good of quality as some of the other Violet Voss formulas, and the color story is just like, I thought I really enjoyed it when I saw it at first, but trying to play with it and wear it, I was just not as impressed. That blue, yeah, you can wear it with that aqua, but it doesn't, like, I don't know, it just didn't feel as cohesive as I wanted it to. So it is another one that is being decluttered, but also is in 6th place. I had to count for a second, which means in right smack dab in the middle is going to be my Violet Voss Windflowers. This is one that I was trying to decide whether to declutter or not. I think I'm going to hang on to it. I do like it, and I think it is a nice enough palette for work and stuff, and you could do something slightly more dramatic and more blown out with like pink, a really pink look. So I think I'm going to hang on to it for now. We'll revisit it once I finish going through all my palettes, which is going to take forever, like, honestly. But I do like this one. I just don't think it's like the best Violet Voss one. Color Story is kind of nice, but it is kind of similar in my mind to the Naked palette. So if you like the Naked palettes and how cohesive everything is, then you will like this palette. Into the top. So we're going to have in 4th place the Roaring Hearts palette by Colourpop. I think this is my newest of all of these palettes, and I think it is very nice. I really like the shimmers that they included. I like most of the mattes. I mean, I'm never a big black fan for eyeshadow, but I think it's a nice palette. I love the packaging. Like, it's very Art Deco. It reminds me of the 20s, which I think is why they came up with it in the first place. It's a nice palette. I do like it. I think they did a good job. In 3rd place, I'm going to put the Lorac Unzipped Elegance. I felt like I looked at the look and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. I just love like this shimmer. Oh my gosh, this shimmer. If we could bottle this up and I could have this like in every look, that would be amazing. So yes, this is one of my favorite palettes now, the Elegance by Lorac. That's why it's in 3rd place. Moving on to 2nd place, Gingerbread Spice by Too Faced. This is such a versatile palette. There's so many different looks. I forgot how good Too Faced can be. Like there's holiday palettes and I enjoy those, but there's something special about these tin palettes that they have a little extra magic to them, and this one is definitely no exception. I love the colors in here. It's so good. Like the colors, I just love those shimmers, and they're except for those two that I kind of pointed out earlier. It's good. It's definitely good. It is definitely one that you will see me wearing for years to come. And then 1st place, obviously, because I've already alluded to this at least twice in this video, we have the Mauve Obsessions by Huda Beauty. This might be my favorite Huda palette, like of all of them, or it might be one of my very favorites. There are so many palettes that she's done that don't come close to this palette in my estimation. I love the colors. I love the formulas. It's just such a lovely, lovely palette, and it's the one that I most highly recommend. I think it's still available if you look on her website for sure. She tends to have things for longer than Sephora carries them. Anyway, let me know if you have any of these palettes, what your thoughts are on the palettes. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I can't wait to talk to you next time. Bye.